What's up, my big G's and my lowercase G's? Today, here we are in front of the fan, the box fan. We're gonna read some stories, and we're off. A few years ago, my brother would get a call on his cell phone around 2 to 3 a.m. every night. He would answer it, and it was this hellish sounding noise, like static mixed with screams. He changed the cell number after a month of this, and it stopped. Then after a week or so, it began again. The exact same noise, exact same time. Finally, one day he decided to back dial the call. It was an old man that had no clue what he was talking about. Still, the calls persisted. If he didn't answer it, we'd call it a few more times. No messages were left. He decided to say screw it, ended his contract with his phone company, switched to a new one, and then got a number. You guessed it. Screaming static calls continued after a short delay. By this time, he was terrified every night, unsure why this was happening. He back dialed the phone number again, and got a different person. Around this time, he lost his job and his phone. The calls stopped, of course. His phone was disconnected now. So one day my mom asked me to listen to this weird message she got on her home phone. It was the static screaming. We showed my brother, and he was freaking out. He back dialed the number again, and it was the same number. Alright, so the number was disconnected this time. Gosh darn it. He never heard from it again after that. Oh boy. This happened to a friend of mine. She told me about it a year or so ago. We'll call her Minji. Minji is in her late 20s and works as an English tutor in South Korea. One evening a few years ago, she was tutoring a high school boy. They were up studying pretty late, and the buses stopped running. Being a long way from his house, the boy asked if he could crash on her floor overnight and get the first bus the next morning. Minji was very reluctant, because inviting a teenage male student to stay the night didn't sound like a great idea. But he was begging her, and eventually she relented. They went back to her one-room apartment, and she got into the bed. Well, she laid a blanket out on the floor, and they both fell asleep. A few hours later, at maybe 2 a.m., the boy wakes Minji up. "I'm really hungry," he says. "Let's go get some food." Minji opens her eyes and looks at him in disbelief.
"Food? Now? It's 2 a.m. Go back to bed."
But the student insists. "No, I'm hungry. Let's eat something now." She tells him that there's some ramen in the kitchen, and she can fix himself some. This does not satisfy him. He doesn't want ramen. There's a 24-hour place just down the road. Let's go there. Eventually, after several minutes of persuasion, the boy gets Minji to come with him to the restaurant. They leave the apartment and heads out. As soon as they're on the street, the boy turns to Minji and says, "I'm not hungry. I woke up in the middle of the night and looked under your bed. There's a man sleeping there." They called the police and discovered that a homeless man had been living in Minji's apartment, sleeping under her bed for over 2 months. The boy only saw him because he was lying on her floor, so he had a clear view under the bed. The police arrested the man, and thankfully there were no other issues. That's by far the creepiest thing that's ever happened to anyone I know. Not from me, but I remember a story a high school teacher told me that always stuck with me. My former teacher was home alone when she was a child. At some point, this person is wonderful, and in the 70s probably. A man knocked on her door, and she opened her main door, but kept her screen door locked. Jesus. He said he was from the gas company and wanted to talk to her parents. She told him they weren't home, and he, without missing a beat, tried to start forcing his way into the home. When he found the screen door to be locked, he pulled out a effing box. He started to cut through the screen. My teacher ran to hide in a clothes hamper in her parents' closet. She said she sat there for about 10 minutes before the police arrived. Thank goodness a neighbor saw everything and called the police, or she probably would be dead. Also, to put the cherry on top, the creepy Sunday, they found the intruder hiding in the attic. Oh boy. So if you enjoyed this video, please dislike it. Tell us you hated it. I know I hated it. And if there's anything else you want to say to me, come over here and say it to my face.